Mr. Asif Chaudhry, thank you very much for your time. We would like to discuss today about Moldovan issues at its 25 years of independence. First of all, I would like to ask about your diplomatic service in Moldova in 2008, when Moldova experienced a new type of democracy after the rule of Communist Party. What were the main challenges you knew you'd have to face from the very beginning as an ambassador of United States in Moldova?
First, let me start by congratulating my Moldovan friends on the 25th anniversary of their independence. It's a great day. And that's also a time of reflection to see what has the country accomplished during this time. My time in Moldova was sort of a critical period in terms of the transition that was taking place in the political scene, and I think that was also a beginning of the economic reform and the changes that were taking place in the lives of many people. When I got there, I had the impression that the 2 or 3 key challenges that Moldova was facing that I could help and support. One, of course, is the biggest, which is the security issue of Transnistria. Second is there was a lot of talk of the trafficking, not only in Moldova, but the whole region. And the third one is really the economic part of people's lives, where the difficulties people are facing in their everyday lives because of poverty and lack of opportunities, and the reasons behind it, which are very similar to the challenges that the government faces even today, and we hear about this in the news all the time, and that is the issue of making sure that the judiciary is working properly, the market is reformed, and dealing with the challenge of corruption.
During your service in Moldova, a few new democratic parties at that time, sometimes too fragile, strived to lead the country to a new chapter of joining European Union. What are the reasons that you think pushed back Moldovan government to fully join European Union, following the example of Romania and Bulgaria, for example, in 2007?
I think you have identified one of the key reasons, and that is the political parties that came to power during the 2009 elections. They were individually quite small and sometimes weak. They were able to form a government as a part of a coalition, not individually. A coalition government inherently has issues where all the coalition partners are trying to assert their role and what are they going to do as part of that partnership. And that, I believe, takes away the focus on the larger issues of what the country needs to be able to move forward, the issues that need to be addressed. And as a result of that weakness and the small nature of those parties, I think that took as we say in the United States, took the eye off the ball of some of the larger challenges. Moldova faces challenges which, in my view, are not really getting addressed, and that is the core issue of reform. Sometimes we use these terms of reform without really defining what that means. In the case of Moldova, literally every aspect of the political, economic, and social life needs some tinkering and some support in order to move towards reform. There's the issue of economic reforms, but that really is linked with the reform in justice and fighting corruption. Economic reform and progress is not going to happen until corruption is under control. And when we hear around the world stories of $1 billion disappearing from a small country like Moldova, that takes away the level of trust and confidence that multinational firms would have to come to a place like Moldova. Moldovan people are the asset of that country. I was always impressed with Moldovan people, especially the Moldovan youth. They're multilingual, they are very smart and hardworking, and you can see young people at all levels of government and private sector.
If we speak about foreign investments and financial aid for the Republic of Moldova, the United States has provided since 1991 over $1 billion assistance to combat corruption, strengthen the rule of law, or improve democratic institutions. Do you think this assistance was worthwhile used, since Moldova is still the poorest country in Europe?
It was absolutely worth it for us to make that effort because Moldova deserves it. Moldova is a European country, and it makes perfect sense for the United States and the European Union to provide the support that we did in different forms. It provided us with some results, but I don't believe we got the full potential of what we could get out of the Moldovan economy using that assistance. And it all really comes down to the Moldovan people, the information they get, and how the ruling parties, what kind of messages they provide to people, and how they educate people on what are the benefits of going through those reforms. The world has to work, the Western partners and Moldovan people have to work really starting from the grassroots. In my view, there are two things that we need to focus on, Moldovans need to focus on, Moldova's external partners need to focus on. And those two things are, first, reform at in education. Moldovan education is quite good. People, that's why all these smart people are coming out. But can we do something where people are educated in true Western education and that standard of science and technology so that they can be part of the global market? So the media sector, the information sector, that sector really needs to be reformed in a way that people get the real information. And I'm not talking about using it for propaganda for one side or the other, but really having well-trained journalists, and I think there are some really great journalists in that country, and having the free and open market for media where people can actually express opinions and that opinion can be heard all over the country.
In those 25 years of Moldovan independence, the government hasn't found yet a solution for the Transnistrian settlement, and it has been some progress in terms of facilitating trade agreements between the two regions. Have your perspectives about the settlement changed over the decade?
The way my perspective has changed is that not all parties in the 5+2 process are absolutely sincere in resolving that conflict. I believe that for Transnistria to stay a disputed region or a region of conflict, I believe it serves a geopolitical purpose and objective of the Russian Federation. It keeps them in the mix and in the game. The fact that the Russian military is sitting on Moldovan territory in spite of requests by the leadership, the political and governmental leadership of Moldova to have those forces and those soldiers removed. If a country refuses to remove those soldiers, then you have to know that their objective over there is not simply what they said it was, which was peacekeeping. Now the objectives have changed. All parties in the 5+2 process. I know that the United States is very, very sincere in trying to help Moldova move forward. I know the European Union is very sincere. From all my conversations, I know Ukraine is interested in getting that issue resolved because this is an issue in a conflict right there at their doorstep. They would not want that. Certainly, Moldova would want to regain and control over all its territory and protect its sovereignty. So who's left? It's Transnistria and Russian Federation. And in almost every case, Transnistria is going to follow the instructions, guidance, or lead of the Russian Federation.
Having this said, do you believe that the 5+2 format of negotiations for the Transnistrian settlement has been compromised, or there should be another way of raising the quality of negotiations so that the Transnistrian settlement is solved at least after 25 years of independence?
Russian Federation is an important country in the region, and an important country in the world. Russian Federation has troops sitting in Transnistria, so they have to be part of the discussion and part of the negotiating process. The question is, how do we get all players who need to be at the table to be absolutely sincere in working on finding a resolution of this conflict, as opposed to simply delaying it to God knows for how long. If the Moldovan leadership were to educate everyone in the country of the benefits of reform, benefits of economic prosperity, and benefit of being closer to European Union, and if people at the grassroots level were to see the benefits and feel them, then I think people on both sides of the river, on the Transnistrian side and on Moldovan side, they would want to be part of that prosperity. And if the prosperity of the two sides were linked with each other, I think that would have an impact. I believe even the freedom of movement within the European Union had an impact in Transnistrians wanting to become part of Moldova and perhaps thinking they should have a Moldovan passport as opposed to having a Russian or some other passport.
The corruption issue in the Republic of Moldova has diminished the image of Moldova outside, and do you think the international community would still trust the Republic of Moldova to invest in its economic development and to bring future reforms?
We're talking about almost 7 years since there was the various coalitions and governments that talked about European values, that talked about reform. The central bank of Moldova, that bank has, and the leadership of that bank has a role to play to reintroduce trust among the international community, that they understand what is going on in the monetary sector of the economy. So there are so many different facets. It's the Ministry of Economy, it's the Ministry of Interior, it's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it's the central bank, it's the Prime Minister's office. Everyone has a role to play in their own respective lanes to show that they're only tackling issues for one objective, and that is to improve the situation in Moldova. And then on top of that, all of this needs to be extremely transparent. Now, we have touched on what's been missing is the structure and the possibility for the Moldovan leadership to be able to clearly articulate the objectives for Moldova in the short run and in the long run, and then be able to bring people along. But as they're taking those steps, they have to be able to show through a transparent system, to show people what are the benefits to them and how are they achieving them. Moldova's hope for the future is its future generations. And I believe that the younger people who are now coming up through the education system, those people who are exposed to the global values of freedom, democracy, and reform, those who have seen the world, how benefits from the economic reform can be derived for an individual and for a family. That is really the hope of Moldova. My bet, if you ask me, is on the Moldovan youth and on the Moldovan people. And I think this 25th anniversary of independence is a great time for reflection and a great time to get that message out to the young people that we have had these 25 years of this path and trajectory that we've been on, but let's see what can we do in the next 25 years.
Mr. Asif Chaudhry, thank you very much for this important and valuable thoughts about the Republic of Moldova, and we hope to see you in the future with better news and more positive impact that Moldova can have in the region.
Thank you very much, and my best wishes to the Republic of Moldova on the 25th anniversary.